Welcome back to Oxygen Not Included, everybody. We finished our industrial block during our last episode, and we did a stream afterwards to finish doing all the little tiny tweaks to it. Major difference that I did is that I now have a power grid. This is heavy watt conductive wire. I used all the lead we got out of the oil biome, and it goes from here all the way across and all the way up to connect to our old power grid where our power production is. So now we have everything is connected to the same power production. And so I pulled out the coal generators down here. I haven't cleaned up this area yet. I'll get to that, but everything in here is nice and wrapped up. I have it all cooled so it stays nice and chilled so nothing overheats. We have cooling going crazy through here. It cools every block of the area using some radiant pipes, and all that hot water gets dumped back in after going up. It comes down from the aqua tuner and it cools off the metal refiners first, and then all my other areas where I have different machines, including the petroleum production, and then it cycles back up. And last thing it does is it takes all the heat off of the steam turbines and gets up to almost 40 degrees before it gets dumped back into the reservoir. Reservoir averages out around 37 degrees, and then the aqua tuner brings it back down another 14 before it goes through. And eventually that'll chill down when all these are filled up, because I have every machine in here set up with some automation. So the same automation I set up here, where I have a storage bin that gets filled first and then a smart storage bin. Once the smart storage bin won't get anything until the regular storage bins are full, and then between the two of them we have 20 tons of the material. So this will keep making steel forever until we get 20 tons of steel. And you can see right now we're at 8.5 tons, and then it'll shut off, and it won't make more steel until we use steel. Same for the iron. Same for the other refined metals that I have queued up here. And then down here, it's the same setup for ceramic and refined carbon. And then this is for lime. The lime is not filling up at all yet because it's being used constantly in the steel production. And then I have the same setup for plastic, but the plastic is being slowed down by the fact that I don't have petroleum for it. But eventually that will all catch up, and everything will fill up, and then this will shut off, and it will only make materials when we need them, and it'll stay nice and cool in the process. I'm probably going to end up moving these filters around because right now they're kind of making everything pretty tight down here. We have cleared most of the oil biome out. We're working to get over here to the third oil reservoir and then see what else we have down here. And we had started clearing the map down from the top. So a lot of projects we worked on during stream while we were finishing that. Our water has backed up. I was really curious to see this automation that I had set up. I set this up so that this sensor detects when there's less than 20 tons of oxygen in each square, which we're below that now. Or no, we're above that now. So that's shutting this off. But this line goes all the way back to my water tank, and this detects when the water has filled up to this level. And you can see it's at 608 kilograms. So that allows water to flow out of these tanks and go over to the SPOM, and the SPOM is now turned on. So we're producing excess oxygen even though we don't need the oxygen, just because we want to use up the water, because otherwise our water processing will stop flowing because there's nowhere for it to go. I don't have any water processing down from the bottom, which is odd. Oh, I was using the polluted water to fill up my tanks, and I just finished that so I could turn this off or deconstruct this. Let's set that to a 9 so I can handle this real quick while I'm here. Everything in here has access for duplicates to get in when we need to do work except for the steam chamber, and I've cleaned that out entirely. So we will get this tidied up, and we want to switch this line. Oh no, wait, I just messed that up. I forgot I set that up so that that is actually supposed to be there. It is the connector for the coolant. The coolant was being dumped in over here. I just never emptied the pipe back out and reconnected it. So what I needed to do was just connect this line, wait for this line to empty, and then disconnect it. We're still emptying out the water here. I have started to create a catch-all basin down here. This water is coming from our natural gas generators, and it's just working its way down to here and across into this tank. And this is just excess water we got for the rest of the map. I'm going to leave it as it is for now, because as I'm going to clear this section out, and then we're going to make it so that this drains over here too. And then as we clear the rest of the map, all the liquid will drain into here, and then we'll clean this up last. So the project we're going to work on today is to get this natural gas generator, or natural gas geyser, I should say, running natural gas up to our storage so we have more natural gas for our generators. And we also have one down here. Pretty sure it's this one. Yes, so we're gonna after we're done with the first one, we'll set this up. Probably not going to do it on the video because it's the exact same setup that we did right over here. Just a matter of getting it all built and vacuumed out so we can start pumping gas out. So I'll come back once that's all set up and tried some new things with this episode, mostly because I had a few clips where the audio did not turn out right, and had some glitches with it. But so I took some sections of video and sped them up, and I'm just going to do a quick voiceover over them, and then I'm going to let them play, and it'll show some progress through chewing through some of the chunks of the map. Looking for some feedback on whether that's something that looks interesting to you, or if it's something that's better just left out of the video. So just let me know what you think of it, and we'll be back once those finish up and we have our projects finished. Okay, we've gotten these natural gas collectors set up. They're all very similar. They all have a natural gas geyser that pumps out natural gas. This one's just about starting. They have a atmo sensor that detects whether the pressure in the room goes over 1,000 grams, like 1 kilogram. And I chose 1 kilogram because that means that the pipe will be full when it pumps out, because these two pumps will pull out 1 kilogram per second. So now we can see that this pipe is pretty much, between the two of them, is pumping out full gas. I could actually probably, let's set this to 1,500. Because all we need to do is make sure that this room stays under 5 kilograms. So we'll keep an eye on that, make sure it's working, but we'll let it pressurize a little bit to guarantee that when the gas is being pulled out, there's enough that these two pipes can pressurize this line. For this one, I just have the gas coming up here to our filters for now, because I didn't really want to worry about running a line separately. So it'll just get pumped into filter and it'll go through the natural gas system. This one here, same setup. This one's currently not active. It'll be active in 23 cycles, but when it does, this one also set for 1,500. Gas will pump out. It comes over here, and it goes. Oh, we have a pipe that didn't get finished there. Let's fix that real quick. We decon those two. They'll be able to reach that and fix the pipe. But so then that gas comes over here and it catches up with the line coming up from the bottom. And it's going to end up overfilling this pipe, and we'll have to fix that later. But I don't know how much of an issue it'll be yet, because the geysers are not going to be active at the same time very often. And then that all goes up in here to this one, which I'm going to also set for 1,500 milligrams. We did run into some problems up here. We had some water that flashed to steam, and so I put in a cooling loop off of the main water line and replaced this lock with crude oil so that that doesn't happen again. We still need to get this water out of here before we can finish setting it back up, but we'll work on that and then get all this finished down in here. For now, the gas is going to back up because we have nowhere to go with it. When we cracked all those open, we got some natural gas that built up in here. So we're working on clearing out some space so the gas can filter down to the bottom of the mat a little better and get that gas out of our crops. But the urgent issue we noticed was that our crops were out of dirt, which meant our calories were very quickly dropping down. So we just set up a little temporary setup here. Duplicants will come up here, they'll take polluted dirt, and they will compost it into regular dirt. That dirt can then be used for the crops. Hopefully it'll be enough to get our crops back up and running, so that we have enough food for the temporary part. Our long-term plan is, once we can get access to pips, we'll set up a pip farm. Pips will eat either thimbleweed or arbor trees, which we can get from another asteroid, and they will emit dirt. And so it's a renewable way to get dirt. So that's our plan for the future. We'll take those, that's fine. So we have to get those projects finished up, and then we will go on from there. So I'm going to let this stuff finish, and we will be back after that. Okay, we have about 10 minutes left in this episode, and I've decided I wanted to address something pretty important. We have been having issues with calories because of our crops being out of dirt, but the bigger issue with our food is that every cycle we have food that's rotting, and it's not a huge amount, but it's enough that it's a waste of food that we don't need to waste. And we're 500 cycles in, we should definitely have some kind of storage for our food. So we're going to set up a deep freeze system where we can freeze the food and it will never go off, and then we will not have any problem with that food. Also, that means that any cycle where we have excess food that's made, it will add up for later. And so even if we are using more calories a cycle than we need, or less calories another cycle, doesn't matter, the food will last forever. So we're going to work on putting that right here where we have our refrigerator set up so that our duplicates can still access it, and it'll just be set up to last forever. So I'll be back once I have it planned out where we're going to fit everything, and show you how it's going to work. Still working on the coolant system for our food, but I ran into an issue that I thought we would be able to hold off on for a little bit longer, but we did not. The natural gas that we have coming out from down here, since we don't have any way to cool it as it moves through down here, I was trying to just have it go through with insulated pipes so it would stay at its temperature, but it got up too hot. And then it was going through here, it's causing damage to our filtration system. And frankly, we don't want it to go through the filtration system anyway, because it doesn't need filtered. We know it's all natural gas, it's coming out of a vacuumed room. So I ran a dedicated line for natural gas that goes up this way. We're building the pipeline along our pipeline highway. We're building that all the way up to the top, and it is connecting through to another vent into the natural gas room. The only thing we need left to do is take a gas bridge, connect there, and then once that's built, that gas will flow just fine and it won't cause us problems down here at the filtration station. So just wanted to show that I was building that quick, and then we'll get back to our coolant system, which is moving right along. We'll be back once we have it built. We've set up the first stage of our coolant system for our deep freezer. So it's pretty similar to something you've seen before, just a little aqua tuner steam turbine combination to do some heat deletion. So we have some polluted water in a reservoir, comes down through, goes through the aqua tuner, which cools it down. That water goes up here. We have a metal tile that is gold that is cooling down. You can see it's rapidly losing temperature. And then that water continues back down. We have it cooling off our steam turbine and then going back in and then repeating the process. And this water is very quickly getting down to the negatives, and it will continue to flow no matter what because of this little liquid bridge here that will allow it to go past even if it stops cooling, because we don't want it to stop in the pipe or it'll crack the pipes. But so this will continue to cool it until this is set to -5. So it'll keep cooling it down as long as the water coming in is more than -5. And so that means it'll go down to -19, which means that it will eventually get this tile down to that temperature. So what we'll do is we're going to have the food stored on top of this tile. We're going to do some work to get that gas above that tile. Probably chlorine if we can get it worked out, and then we're going to make some automation where the auto sweeper will reach in, grab the food, and put it in the refrigerators for our duplicates to grab out as they need it. So need to do a little more automation work and let this cool down, but once we get our food down to the point where it's stored at a temperature that is below the deep freeze point, then we will have food that will last forever. It will never go stale. I'll be back once I get the rest of the automation set up. I decided to do something a little different than I normally would have done, just to try some new things out. Normally when I wanted to create a system like this, I would have just gone over to my chlorine tank and ran a pipe from the chlorine over to have a vent drop it out. But for one thing, we've kind of put this in very tight, it would be very difficult for me to run a pipe out without having to do a lot of spaghetti work. This could be done. There's plenty of pathways to do it. But I've never used these canister fillers and emptiers. So what I did was I just ran the chlorine out to this canister filler, which is sitting here, filling up canisters full of chlorine, 25 kilograms at a time. And I set up a little lock on this room so that we can get all the gas out of it. So we're going to slowly get all this carbon dioxide out using this little mini gas pump. And then once we're done with that, we're going to put a canister emptier in this room and fill this room with chlorine. And once it's done, we will have chlorine only in this spot. We'll run our automation in there and we'll close it back up. And then we'll pump the chlorine back out and open the room back up so the duplicates come in without the liquid lock. So just going to take a few minutes to get all that finished processing here, and then we'll come back once we have this sealed up with nothing but chlorine in it. We finished our deep freeze system. We're just waiting for it to cool down. This system uses several different mechanics in the game that are a little tricky to understand, but I'm going to go through them. First off is this tile here that I have made. If you look at where the auto sweeper can reach, this tile is selected. So the auto sweeper can reach inside that diagonal to grab items out. Duplicates cannot. So anything in there is able to be grabbed by the auto sweeper, but the duplicates can't access it. That way, nothing gets pulled out of there unless it's pulled out by the auto sweeper. So then these refrigerators, each one is set up with one of the items of food that we have available for our duplicates to eat, but we set it at a maximum of 2 kilograms. And so the item is only pulled out of there and put into here if one of them's taken, basically. So it's basically, it keeps 2 kilograms of each type of food that they can eat in stock in the refrigerator, because when it's in the refrigerator, it spoils. So you can see that the change per cycle is minus 30%. That'll change down even less once I get this air back to being carbon dioxide. I just let the air filter through so I can get all the chlorine out of there. But we will fix that. The air in here is chlorine, and that air is being cooled down. The chlorine keeps the food sterile, so we get that buff. Right now it's unrefrigerated because it's above 4 degrees, so it's spoiling quickly. But once we get to the point where the air in that chamber is lower than 4, it will switch to refrigerated. And when we get it so that that air is down to, or that chlorine is down to, let me think of the number. I think it's minus 18. I'm not positive though. Let's look at this here. I guess we'll have to wait until we get it down to a refrigerated, and then it'll tell us. But so we are going to continue to cool that using this cooling system until that cools down. But so this auto sweeper pulls out food that is in here and only puts out a little bit at a time. That way we don't have a large amount spoiling. These conveyor loaders are set up in a specific way so that any ingredients that need to be cooked that get dropped off in here are put in here, which drop them off right here next to the grill. This auto sweeper takes any cooked ingredients and anything else, so any eggshells or anything like that, and drops them into the main storage. This conveyor loader here takes out anything that's edible that falls into the main storage and drops it back into here. So the ingredients that need to be cooked go up to be cooked. The ingredients that are cooked stay in here until there's space for them when somebody takes it out to eat it, and then it automatically restocks it so the next duplicate has food available. We're actually going to set this at 1 kilogram. I just wanted to set it at 2 while I was testing. 1 kilogram is more than what any one duplicate will need, and the thing will restock before the next duplicate comes along. I have a 6th refrigerator there, but I don't know what I'm going to put into it yet, just in case I want to have another ingredient. For now, it just stays empty. So now when there's less than a kilogram of food left in here, because the duplicates have taken it out, it will get restocked from this pile. Okay, so we can see the buff has switched to refrigerated. So now when we look at refrigerated, temperature above 4 spoil more quickly. So this is spoiling at minus 0.6, which is pretty good because it's refrigerated just like it was in the refrigerator, and it's in a sterile atmosphere. But if we can get it down to minus 18, then this food will become deep frozen instead of refrigerated, and the spoilage will go to 0. So what we have down here, I had originally set this up using polluted water. I didn't think about the fact that polluted water freezes and will crack your pipes at minus 20 degrees. And because of the way the aquatuna works, if I want to get to minus 19, which is my goal, then anytime this is beyond minus 6, like say minus 7 water is in here, and it tries to cool it again, it'll put it to minus 21, and then it'll crack the pipe. So I switched it out for crude oil. Crude oil can go down to minus 40. So even at this, it'll take it down to, at the lowest, minus 33. It'll still keep going through the pipe, no problem. So right now we just have a loop of crude oil going through. It's being cooled. Right now it's at 1 degree. It'll keep getting colder as more cold crude oil comes back in. If you look here, the crude oil coming through here is at minus 2. So it's leaving at 0.4 and it's coming in at minus 3. It's slowly getting cooler. It will cool down even faster. This is heating up the water. But this water I put a lot in, so it's going to take forever for it to turn into steam, which is no problem. It'll just keep absorbing heat like crazy. The other thing that's interesting is that we don't need this food to be minus 18 degrees. Because if we did that, then it would take a long time when the food is just cooked and dropped off in here. The game looks at the air in the room, and if the air that the food is sitting in is minus 18, it assumes that that food will eventually be minus 18, and it says it's deep frozen. So if we can get the chlorine here down to minus 18, which we will shortly, any food that's dropped off in here for storage will last forever. And so we will no longer have an issue with food being rotted each cycle. Yes, we still were having, let's see, during the last cycle, we had 1,000 calories go bad. A pacu fillet rotted. So, once we get this all done, we'll look at that again and see how much food is going bad. But it should be 0. Eventually, this food will all stay 100% fresh until it's pulled out. And we're not going to pull out more food than we need for our duplicates. The only thing I'm not sure about, I have it set up so that all the different foods are here, just so that way in case one of them runs out, there'll still be food options. We're going to have a little bit of rot from the options that are lower in the priority not getting eaten, because if there's barbecue always available, they're going to eat that first because it's the highest priority. Barbecue or cooked seafood are the same. So they go for the food that gives them the most morale first. So they'll eat the barbecue or the cooked seafood or the grub fruit preserve if we have it, and if not, then they'll try for an omelet, and if not, then they'll try for one of these, and if not, they'll try for one of these, and then worst case scenario, they'll eat one of these foods that they don't really like just so that they don't die. So that's going to be it for this episode. Next time we'll work on doing some more map cleanup and get some more of the geysers worked on, and just get everything generally tidied up, because we are in desperate need of getting some of these things cleaned up and getting some things worked out so that we have water coming in and things like that. So I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I know the system was a little complicated. I hope it made sense to you the way I explained it. But I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.